In this tutorial, we're going to use InDesign CC 2020 to go through Classroom in a Book, Chapter 2, which is all about getting to know InDesign and laying out this postcard. We do quite a few different things here, play with how to move things around, how to add text, how to create some layer styles, a lot of skills that you're going to need to create your publications going forward. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's go into InDesign. Let's go to File, Open, and go grab that O2 Start file. With that O2 Start file, you can't see it if you did not unzip it, so make sure you are unzipping those before you try and do the assignments. Let's go ahead and do a File, Save As, and do a first initial, last name, underscore InDesign, Classroom in a Book, Chapter 2, and InDesign is fine. And I've already saved it once. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a peek at what we have going on here. So if you look at the final one, you see we've got quite a few elements that are not appearing yet. So let's go ahead and work on the postcard. Let's make sure we're working in the same workspace. So come down to Window, Workspace, and you want Essentials. So we're all in the same place. That'll make sure your properties bars and other things are the same place when we're working together. So as we see right now, we're working in the preview mode. We're not seeing any of the non-printing items when we are doing our design work, which is really pretty and a lot nicer to look at, but does not always help us in terms of being good designers. So don't design in preview mode. Design in the normal mode. The normal mode is the one that's going to show you the text frames. It's going to show you quite the other items that you really need to see, especially if you've got spelling. Let's go to Edit, Spelling. Make sure your dynamic spelling is turned on. So if you have mistakes, it will go ahead and fix that for us. Alright, let's show a few other things. Let's go to View. Let's come down here to Grids and Guides. And we want to go ahead and show the guides, which means show me things like the margins. If I have any other guides that have been pulled over, you can see these light green guides that have been brought in. So we want to be able to see those things. We also want to go to Type and come down to Show Hidden Characters. Show Hidden Characters shows us when we have those paragraph marks, which really matters when we're trying to create paragraph and character styles. So being able to see those can really work to your advantage. Alright, so let's go ahead and style some text. Grab our text tool, and we're going to click in here by the word cafe. And instead of cafe, we're going to backspace and write in bistro. Alright, so now we are a bistro and bar. So that was relatively easy. Let's go ahead and do something with bistro and bar. If I triple click, I'll select the entire line. Let's go ahead and look at the character controls over on our properties panel. So you've got characters here. It shows you all the different elements. If you're not seeing all of it, you might want to make sure you push these little dots. Sometimes they hide some of the options. So let's see, we've got Myriad Pro, and it's regular right now. Let's go ahead and make it bold. So come down here and use bold instead. Now what you should know is that you're actually using bold as a separate font, not bold as a faux effect, which is one of the differences. That's why when you go to package this, you will find your fonts folder will have lots and lots of fonts, because each version of it is a different version of the font. Alright, let's go ahead and do a Control S and save. Alright, moving right along, we want to go ahead and add some text to these paragraphs. So in order to do that, we're going to grab our selection tool and click outside the pasteboard to make sure nothing is selected, because if anything is selected, that is where it will go ahead and put this information. Let's go up to File and come down to Place. And in Place, we should have something called bistro.docs. So that is actually our text for this thing. And we're going to say open, and now you see we get something called a loaded cursor. The loaded cursor says, okay, I've got some information here, where do you want to put it? So the first thing I want to do, I already have a frame here, so I'm going to put that into this first box. Now I want to go ahead, and I can tell right here, because of the little red plus sign, that I have more text than I have showing right now. So I need to flow it from one box into another box. So in order to do that, we're going to select the text frame. We're going to hit the output right there with our selection tool. And we're going to click the frame next to it to show what we want to connect it to. So you should get a selection there. Double click it so you can move it over to the over the other area. Now it's still overset, but we are going to play with some of the formatting options in order to correct that. Let's do a Control S and save what we've got so far. So one of the really important things you need to get out of this assignment is working with styles. Styles are critical for making sure you have consistent design, especially when you get into multi-page design. Paragraph styles includes all text formatting attributes in a paragraph, so all the text in a paragraph. A character style only goes to those character attributes, things like font or color, and only applies to certain text. So understanding the difference between the two of those is really important. Object styles allow us to apply formatting like fill and stroke and other types of effects to selected objects. And remember, objects are generally things within a certain frame. So I know it sounds crazy right now, but you will be using these over and over again. You will lose points if you don't use them, so make sure you understand how to work with styles. Alright, let's go into our type tool. Within our type tool, we want to make sure that we are going into, we've got these frames selected, so let's edit. Come down to select all. It didn't give it to us. Alright, I'm clicked in starters. Let's do edit, select all. There we go. Now I grabbed it all. So let's go ahead and go to our paragraph styles over here at the top of the button over here. And if we go down, we've already got some styles established. So this one's called body copy. So they've already gone through and created a style for the body copy, which says what font, what size, what style, plays with leading and kerning, all those different elements. So within the click of a button, it was really easy to create a very consistent look and feel. So that's something you definitely want to be able to do for your publications going forward. Alright, let's go ahead and look at just starters and small plates. We can see that that is an actual paragraph. So we can style it with a paragraph style. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that information that I want to change. So starters and small plates. And I want to come down to my style. And I want to go ahead and do a subhead style. So I've got subhead right here. So it's going to go ahead and change that to subhead. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for this entrees and desserts. And pop that down to subhead. So that automatically pushed it up for us. And that's what we wanted to do. So let's do edit and deselect. We don't have anything selected. Okay, so come out here so we have nothing selected. And let's do a File S or Control S or Option S to save. Alright, so let's go ahead and use some paragraph styles. So I'm going to zoom in down here a little bit. I want to go ahead and make this Rosé Martini look a little bit different. So we're going to go ahead and in the character controls, let's go ahead and select that word, Rosé Martini. Alright, we're going to come here to my paragraph controls, and we want to go to the right. We want to do italic instead of regular. Alright, so it's going to make that italic. And we want to go ahead and change the fill color. So we don't want it to be the black that it is right now. So let's click on the fill and go ahead and come down to the swatch named red. Red bright. There we go. Red bright. To apply that color to the text. So let's go ahead, click on the pasteboard, and we should see that nothing happened. That's fun. Let's try that one more time. Alright, so I've got red. Let me switch to my move tool. Alright, so I've got this Rosé Martini is now the bright red, which to me looks kind of pink, and is a italic as well. So let's go ahead and do a Control S and save what we've got. So now we want to create a character style based on Rosé Martini because we might want to be able to apply that to other parts of our document without having to go through each time and reset all those different elements. So let's go ahead and select the words. And now we want to go into type. Oop. Make sure you grab the whole thing. We want to type. We want to come down to character styles. It's going to pop up a panel, and we know we can drag those panels around. So we want to create a new character style. So we're going to go over here to the flyout menu, which is the hamburger menu, and we're going to hit the one called new character style. Within new character style, we're going to call it red italic. We're going to make sure that we do apply style to section. We're not worried about having it in our CC library, so you don't need to have that. And we're going to say OK. So now we want to be able to apply that to something else. So we're going to go ahead and take the character or the text tool, and now we want to go ahead and apply it to something else. So let's put it on the zucchini blossoms all the way down to dandelion greens. Okay. So I'm going to come here to my character style and hit red italic, and it's automatically going to go through and change that for us. So what's really nice about the character and paragraph styles is, okay, you decide, hey, I don't like this red, I think it's awful. Instead of having to go through and change every single instance of this, you can go through with just a single click by changing the style, and you can change everything on the fly, so it makes it go a lot faster. Alright, let's go ahead and select the words. Let's go to the orange ginger. Back to my type tool. Let's grab to orange ginger, seared scallops, and let's go ahead and apply that as a red italic. And let's go ahead and let's grab flour flatbread. Now it's up to you as to whether or not you're going to include punctuation or not. I did not. Depending on the style guide that you're working on, will determine whether or not that is something that you do include or don't include. So it kind of depends on what you're creating. Alright, let's go ahead and do just a few more. Let's come here to lavender chicken. Let's see where we're at. Lavender chicken or fresh basil pesto. Gets to be red italic. And let's go to grab this violet macaroons or candied pansies. Oop. As red italic as well. Alright, so I'm going to do a Control S and save what I've got so far. And I don't need these character styles, so I can either take them here and dock them along with my paragraph styles, or I could just close the group. If it's ones that you know you're going to use a lot, it's pretty simple to just have them docked up there. I will usually create a workspace with those elements in there. Let's do a Control S and save what we've got so far. Let's go ahead and work with some of the graphics. Let's go to View. Let's fit Page and Window so we can see the whole thing. We want to make sure we have nothing selected, so Edit and deselect. Deselect all. There we go, halfway down. So we have nothing selected. We're going to go to the Import File over here under Quick Actions. This is also, if you've used InDesign in the past, Place is about the same thing. It's going to say, what do you want to bring in? I want to bring in this dining room JPEG. I want to make sure that we don't want captions, we don't want import options, so say open. Alright, so a couple different things are going to happen here. If I was to just click, you will actually get the full size image of whatever the original of that image is. I don't want that, so I'm going to do a Control Undo, Control Z. And what I want to do is actually draw a box about where I want it to go. So I'm going to start at this intersection and come down to the intersection of the other guide. When I let go, it's automatically going to fit within that window. So that makes your life a lot easier. Because we do not have auto fit selected, I can then use my selection tools and I can crop and change how that photo is going to look without actually erasing parts of it. And I'm going to undo that, Control Z. If you have auto fit checked, as you reach size this, it will shrink and stretch it accordingly. So it's all about having that auto fit available. All right, let's go ahead, and we've got those elements added. Another thing you can do is when you've got this, you can use this content grabber, the donut, and you can move the image within your frame. You have to have the donut. You know you have the donut one when it's got the gray or the brown around it. So maybe you want to move that image within the frame itself. So you see where the brown is appearing, shows you there's more parts of that image than we're seeing right now. You could use some of the auto fitting. You could do fit frame to content. You could fit frame proportionally. So you've got quite a few different fitting options to make things look better depending on how you want to make those elements work. Let's go and do Control S and save what we've got so far. All right, so now let's work on moving and rotating objects. So the first thing we're going to do is go make sure we can see the whole thing again. So View, Fit on Page, if you scrolled in. I want to grab the selection tool and grab these flowers and move them over here by Edible Blossoms. And right now these flowers are together as a group, which means they are 3 items made separately, but we've grouped them so we can move them as one thing. All right, so we want to go ahead and transform that a little bit. If we look at our transform controls, go to the 3 periods below and you're going to get a few more items. We want our X to be 1.85. We want our Y to be 0.05. And we want our rotation angle to be -10. I have to write it in. -10. All right. And that's way up there. I'm not sure why. Did I put it in the wrong place? X is 1.85. All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring that down a little bit. I don't like 1.85. Or you have the option of rotating it with the side arrows right there too. All right, so I've got that. I'm happy with it. We are where we need to be. Let's go ahead and go to Edit and Deselect toward the middle. Make sure we have nothing there. We want to make sure we've got our hidden characters on so we can change stroke and fill. Let's go to our direct selection, which is a little bit different, which allows us to select a single object within a group and change some of those things indirectly of everything else. So let's go ahead and click on the white flower. So it's going to highlight all the path in there. Let's go ahead and change the fill. Instead of the fill being white, let's go ahead and make it the green dark instead. Now, because we had the direct selection, it only changed the one item, which makes your life a little bit easier. Let's go ahead and also go down to our black horizontal line right here and select it. And we know that it is a line. Lines only have strokes, so the stroke color. And let's make it the dark green as well, so it matches. All right, let's go ahead and go on our pasteboard. So we deselect everything. Do a Control S and save. All right, so now let's go ahead and style these boxes down here. They're kind of boring. We want to make them look a little bit different. So let's go to Window. Let's come down here to Styles. And let's grab Object Styles. Now, they have already established quite a few different styles for us, so we can just apply them and not have to create them. Let's grab our Selection tool, not our Direct, and grab on that Starters and Small Plates. I moved a little bit. I'm going to Control Z. And grab that green stroke and drop shadow. So see how that automatically changed quite a few items in that box. It created some inset spacing, which is how close it is to the edge. It gave it a background. So that's really nice. And we can go ahead and do the same thing for entrees and desserts. So if there's something that you want to do to create something that's more consistent from one publication to another, it's really easy to create those styles as you go along. Let's do a Control S and save what we've got. Let's go ahead and take a peek at what's going on right now. Right now it says I've got 10 errors. So 10 errors means I've got quite a few problems that we're going to have to fix before we can possibly turn that in. I'm going to turn my object styles off. So let's go to Window and Output. And we want to go ahead and grab the one that says Pre-Flight. And the profile, they've already created one called Mailhouse. So Mailhouse is telling us that we've got quite a few color problems. Color space not allowed. So if I'm going to go ahead and make this bigger. If I go to this text frame 1, content uses RGB. It says you can't use RGB, so we can go ahead and fix that. So we could go ahead and choose Window, come down here to Color, come to Swatches, and under Swatches we're going to see we've got the which one is it that we're having problems with? So Red Bright has got a problem, so we're going to go ahead and double click it. Instead of color mode RGB, let's go ahead and flip that over to CMYK, so cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, which is probably one of the top ones. There it is, CMYK, and say OK. And it should go through and fix all of those. And you know the color profile is based on these, because what we're trying to do is we are going to be sending this for printing at a actual traditional printer who's using ink. If we were doing it for the web, then you'd want just the red, green, and blue. So that's where you're going to pay attention to those different items. Alright, so now we fixed that and we're down to 0 errors, which is exactly what you want before you can turn something in. Alright, so before we do that, let's go ahead. You can notice they've got several different presentation modes. If you go down here to the bottom, so maybe you want to look at presentation, and presentation is what does it look like without any of the other InDesign tools and things showing. So escape, take a peek before you do that. Alright, so before we can turn this in, let's do a Control S, do a file, save as, do file and package. We want to make sure that we're going to package this file. We're going to make sure that we are in lesson 2, and I'm going to have my first initial last name instead of folder. I'm going to put PKG. So I know it's the packaged one. I know I'm putting it in lesson 2. I want all these items, the fonts, the graphics, updates, IDML, high quality, and say package. So I'm going to go through and package and grab all those items. And now I'm going to go through and I go to my flash drive or wherever I saved it. Being an organized designer is critical, otherwise you will not be successful in this course. There's way too many moving pieces. So start using folders within folders. So lesson 2 is where I am. I've got my D Oser InDesign package. So in there I've got my one for fonts. Looks like my fonts are there. My links should be all the pictures. I should have an IDML, so if I'm opening in a different version of InDesign it'll open. My INDD, so if it's the current version, and my PDF. So make sure you've got all those. Once you've checked that package file, do a right click, send to, compressed folder, or I can't remember what it is on the Mac. I think it's just zip or compress, one of the two. So you want to make sure you're turning in this zipped file. I have to have the zip file in order to grade your assignments. That's all for chapter 2.